Excellent. Do you know the funny thing is I knew I was going to be sitting next to you this morning, super looking forward to it. And I had an absolute flashback this morning of us poolside in Las Vegas having that deep conversation. The sun was out, and I was actually reading your book, which I've now read every page and finished. And I love these moments in time when I can just pick your brains. Ivan, I've learned so much from you, and learn even more now I've read your book. And I really appreciate you giving us and a really big audience your time this morning. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And how good was Vegas? How good was that moment?
It was excellent. It was absolutely brilliant. Leadership conference. I was really apprehensive about going. And I'm so glad I did. I was out of my comfort zone. Never been to Vegas, never seen a second about the NRL, but it wasn't about either of those things. It was about the connections and the learning. So thank you for getting me there as well.
And the conference was better for your presence. And thank you for having me here. It's my absolute pleasure. We've done a few of these. It's always a lot of fun. So I've really been looking forward to it.
Fantastic. So what's prompted this is the whole mindset and thought around, are you playing to win or are you playing not to lose? And that is the title of your book. And the first question I wanted to ask you is, what was the reason for the book?
The reason for the book, before I answer that, I'm going to just make a few shout outs.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of people that this would not have been possible without, and some of them are on the call, in fact. So just very, very quickly, if you just give me a minute, I just wanted to acknowledge the following clients that kindly gave me their time and their story and super valuable contributions to the content. Ben Cohen, CEO and founder of Taxibox. Livia Wang, CEO and founder of the Access Corporate Group. Ben Gourlo, MD and founder of Reliable Food Distributors. David Buddha, CEO of the Steel Builders Group of Companies. Tuan Duong, principal and founder of Duotax. Nigel Long, CEO of Bouchin and Long Group. Hugh Toll Group, CEO of Lynch Group. Joe Palmer, managing director and founder of Gate 7. And just quickly on the sporting side, there's a whole bunch of sporting people that helped me as well. Graham Arnold, Paul Roos, Craig Bellamy, Cameron Serraldo, Rod McQueen, Tom Wickham, Davor Shuker, Craig Johnson, and Mark Paducah. Without those people, this is not possible, and a big shout out. And one more very quick one. Craig Bellamy is in the news. Some of you might have seen he's got some health issues. This will make its way to Craig, and hopefully he gets to listen to it. So it's a big shout out to Craig. You're a huge inspiration to a lot of people in this country, including myself and this book, and we wish you all the best. So
thank you. Before we go into that, I have to say that's amazing. Thank you. So for those people who might not actually know Ivan, he is a proven strategic business coach and now author. And for those of you who don't know me, Emily Wilson, the MD of FutureYou, which is a specialist recruitment firm.
Fantastic. So the reason for the book, I'm a sporting geek. The people on the call know me, know that. You know that about me. I'll watch upwards of 20 press conferences a week. I see them watching press conferences of the elite coaches. I see them as an opportunity to be mentored by the elites. There's something about the sporting world that really resonates with me. When you're being measured on I say this in the book, when you're being measured on a scoreboard visible to the world to see every week, there's sort of less room for fluff, and that really resonates with me. So I love sport. I learn a lot from it. I use it a lot in my work. And there's a lot of parallels, and that's what to business, and that's what inspired the book. So the book itself, it talks about two ideas: play to win, play not to lose. It's very obvious on a sporting field when a team is trying to go for it, trying to win, and when they're just trying not to lose. And I suggest it's equally obvious around a boardroom table when leaders are reaching for something versus just sort of playing it safe. And that's what this book explores, what both sides look like through three lenses: self-leadership, team leadership, and strategic leadership. So self-leadership is managing your own mindset, attitude, energy. Team leadership is aligning a team around a shared purpose, vision, and standards. And strategic leadership is taking a leadership position in the market around your thing. And that thing is whatever makes you unique, whatever stands you apart from the rest. And if it's genuinely unique, it shapes the way you lead the market. And so the idea is each of these layers are distinct but connected. So if a leader has a genuine play to win mindset, that's the way the culture thinks, and that inevitably leads to sort of bolder strategic choices. And the opposite, if a leader's got a plan not to lose and more of a fear-driven mindset, it creates more of a fear-driven culture, and typically creates more of a fear-driven or hesitant strategy. AI is showing this up big time, I believe. So you've got businesses out there that are Tuan Duong, I think, who might be on the call. He's in the book. I mean, he's an incredibly successful business. He's doing some really bold stuff with his tech through AI. His business has kicked out all SaaS programs. They've recreated their own ERP based on their specific needs within their business using AI. And then on the other side, you've got businesses that are banning their staff from touching AI because they're afraid of it. So yeah, and that all starts with a leadership mindset. So yeah, what inspired me? I'm a sporting geek. I learned a lot from that world, and I think there's a lot of parallels between sport and business, and that led to the book.
Excellent, thank you. So this is not a theory; it is a mindset which then shapes behaviours, and behaviours then shape actions, and it's only mindset, behaviors and action that can actually execute a vision. Otherwise, it is just theory.
Yeah.
So on the self-leadership side, when we're reflecting and looking at ourselves, what does it mean to have a high-performing self-mindset, please?
High-performing self-mindset. I'll start with a couple of examples.
Yeah.
I was talking to the teenage son of a very good friend of mine who's learning to drive, and asking him what his experience was. And he was saying he was struggling to keep the car in the lane. It kept sort of veering. It keeps veering. And I was sharing with him, I can relate to that because that's exactly, I remember when I was driving like it was yesterday, it's exactly what was happening to me, because I was so worried about keeping the car in the lane. I kept looking at the lane line. And of course, if that's all you're looking at, that's where the car goes. So where the focus goes, energy follows. And the psychology behind that is every choice is driven either by what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, a vision, a goal, a set of values, the space in the lane in front of you, or what you're trying to avoid. You know, what that fear is. And you're tested with that choice 1,000 times a day, and you're either leaning in or leaning out. You're either prepared to do something uncomfortable in pursuit of a goal, or staying in some sort of comfort zone. This morning, my alarm went off. We were talking just before our podcast went live. We've got similar morning routines. So my alarm went off at 5 a.m. And the first millisecond of my consciousness, I was tested. I've got a gym in the garage. Do I go to the gym? Do I stay in the warm blankets? I won that battle, but in the gym, I got tested a few times as well. Do I do the next exercise with purpose and intention and intensity, or sort of go through the motions? And the truth is, there was a few going through the motions, if I'm being really honest with myself. And then I do cold showers. I've been doing cold showers for 7 years. And you think after 7 years, it happens without even thinking. But even to this day, 7 years later, there's that millisecond standing outside the shower. Am I going to do this or not? So within that first hour, I'm tested with that choice dozens of times, and you don't win them all. And I think, going to the question of the play to win or winning mindset, the first thing that I'd say is that you're never going to win every battle, but it's the more choices that you make intentionally, yes, in the context of something that you're trying to achieve, you increase the chances of winning more of those battles, and that makes you more of a play to win mindset.
Fantastic. And I could tell from reading your book, like, I naturally connect with you, and I read the book and understood why. And it's because, every person has a choice to find their own strength, to get the most out of every day, whatever that looks like for them and the people they're interacting with. But it's not easier for you to get up at 5 and choose to go to the gym, but you find the strength to do that because you believe it to be important.
Yeah.
And I think that's it sometimes can be preconceived of, Ivan finds it easy to get up in the morning and that's what he does. But, you know, you're admitting it isn't. But so well done. It's hard, you know. When my alarm goes off at that time in the morning, the only thing I let myself think is wake up, get up, wake up, get up, wake up, get up, because it's hard. It's hard. But so what was just a huge moment for me in the book is a love mindset. And there are many different types of love. And this is not a romantic love. In business sense, you use the agape Greek love mindset, which was relevant to business, which is, you know, sometimes treating yourself with compassion, but sometimes really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Sometimes treating your team with compassion, but other times it's to push them outside of their comfort zone. So it's, you know, can be uplifting and positive, but it can also be really confronting and tension.
Yeah.
But unless we have the love mindset, which is open-minded, trusting, confident, none of those interactions can happen, can they?
Yeah. It's in the book. And it can sound a bit wee-wah. Love, you know, the idea of love in a business context. But I do have a belief, and my belief is that every meaningful choice does come down to either love or fear. And I acknowledge if that can sound a bit strange, so I accept if that's sounding strange to people, but that is my belief. And if you examine meaningful choices deep enough, you really sort of peel it back. I believe you'll get to a space where that starts to make a little bit more sense. Every meaningful choice comes from one of those two forces, and you've characterized it well. And it's not the Hollywood idea of love. It's the biblical idea, and that's not this is not a religious thing, whatever your beliefs are. But I believe there is significant practical benefits of applying the biblical idea of love, and agape love specifically, to leadership culture and strategy. There's layers to that idea of love. In there sits things like willing the best for yourself and others. In there sits things like the willingness to sacrifice for a greater good. So think of a team where every team member is willing to sacrifice their personal agenda for the team's goal. That's not a theory thing. There are teams out there that genuinely have. That's love. When every team member is willing to sacrifice their personal agenda for the team purpose.
It's ego, putting their own ego aside, rather than just what is good for them. And their own actions.
And then just to add to that, very quickly, just for yourself as well, from a self-leadership, a leader that has the mindset to challenge themselves every single day to be better, that's love. So that's what I mean by the idea of love. And on the other side is fear, and that fear shows up in a million different ways. And that choice is tested 1,000 times a day. Do we lean in? Do we lean out? Do we speak up? Do we stay quiet? Do we stay true to ourselves? Do we not? Do we follow through? Do we give up?
And it can be hard for people around them. I mean, I certainly think with my own team some days, because I'm driven by continuous improvement, which when people are feeling, you know, a bit exhausted, tired, can be their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm wanting to improve and get the most out of every day and, you know, doing it. But it can be, you know, it can be tricky depending what other people have going on in their lives.
Yes.
As well. I wrote down what I think. So you've got the mindset, which is open to learning, not threatened by other people's success. And the behaviors I think that it really brings to the front is sharing ideas and collaborating, giving credit to others when credit is due, taking responsibility and accountability for self first, providing constructive feedback, but supporting teammates. Yeah. And I mean, is a self-reflection, it's what a playing to win mindset is?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, all those things. Yeah, I agree with all of it. Rattle them off again.
Share idea and collaborate. Giving credit to others. taking responsibility and accountability, providing constructive feedback and supporting teammates.
Yeah, I agree with yes.
Yeah.
And going to those sort of layers of love, willing the best for yourself and others, willing to sacrifice, that really all is around growth. And yes, so that I agree, and that's what the behaviours look like.
Because I was thinking, because then for me, that's where strong relationships are formed with those behaviours playing out. And the team that you need the strong relationships to perform high together.
What's the basis of a relationship? It's trust, and if the context is love and wanting the best for that's naturally going to get created, and relationships form off the back of that. If everyone is aligned around that idea of love. And
what about so the opposite of this is a fear-based mindset. And in reading your book, I've sort of done the same thing around what I believe what it feels like. It's feels judgmental, it can feel undermining, it can feel like all people are doing is focused on not making mistakes, only thinking of themselves. Is that what, how does that feel? How does it feel when you're in a team or a business when they are playing not to lose?
It's fear-based, and all of that, and fear shows itself up in so many ways, and it can show itself up as those things. Ego is actually driven by, if you really go sort of deep enough from a psychological point of view, ego is also driven by fear of others' judgments. Fear of speaking up, fear of commitment, fear of following through. It shows up in so many ways, and that creates the plan not to lose mindset, which ultimately creates the plan not to lose culture. Have you had that feeling in a team?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's we've worked together in businesses that we partner with, and they really want to know how their culture and employees are feeling, which is really brave. We really encourage it at FutureYou. And, there's moments, we were talking earlier, COVID was a hugely fearful time. So it was actually the external events which made, and it's how we all acted. There's a lot of people and can be so proud of where their business and the bonding for us from doing a startup to now being 10 years old. So going startup, COVID, and now people are saying this could be COVID times. There's been so many fearful external events, but it's actually almost been like brothers in arms, like getting us together tighter. But there's been moments where it's been, really tough.
Yeah, and it's those moments that really show this up. I mentioned AI as a significant disruptor. It's showing up so clearly which strategies and which mindsets are playing and we play not to lose. COVID did the same. When you think about what's happening out in the external world right now, the rockets getting thrown around and the disruption that's creating for supply chains and businesses, and it's a choice. It's a choice that we get to make, and how we relate to that, uncertainty, and do you buy into that fear? And it's not about putting your head in the sand and being in denial. It's about acknowledging and accepting the risks that whatever is happening is creating. But there's a choice that gets to be made around how you relate to that. And do you still keep pursuing some sort of intention, or do you sit back and be more focused on what you're trying to avoid? Those big moments, whether it be technology disruption or external world, massively impactful, it's quick to show up which side of the line businesses and mindsets are standing on.
I'm really interested to talk more about, I wrote here, like, behaviors at work when people are feeling fearful can be blaming others, making excuses, defensive, resisting feedback, being ego driven, micromanaging or undermining. But there was also one that was mentioned in your book, which is people pleasing, which is actually this concept of an overly polite culture, where you go so far from not wanting to be fearful that you avoid tension, feedback, disruption. You call it kumbaya or happy clappy. It's like you can't go there because nothing also will get done. There's no accountability.
Yeah. Clients on the call will know that I use the language rawness, empathy to characterize that sort of culture. And what does that mean? It means the overly polite, where we're prioritizing other people's feelings above business outcomes and the conversations that need to be had. So that means we're not challenging each other, challenging the status quo, or holding each other accountable, because we're holding the relationship on a higher pedestal. And that does come from fear. Yeah. It comes from the fear of impacting people's feelings and impacting a relationship. And the word rawness, so rawness, empty, the word rawness is in the moment, it feels good. And sometimes it's understandable to sort of sit in that space if there's a lot going on for the other person. But if that's all you do, if that's the setting that the culture's dialed into, it doesn't end well.
No,
that's how businesses go broke.
Yeah,
and that's why the word rawness. So that is a form of fear.
Even though it might come from a good place, I actually was surprised. I mean, people pleasing is actually coming from a place of fear.
Yeah, it's coming from, and that's not a cue to do the opposite. I'm sure that's not being understood that way, but it's just to be 100% clear. It's not a cue to do the opposite and start sort of swinging the bat aggressively. So every conversation, whether it be a supportive or a challenging one, ought to be done respectfully and in a caring way. And if you use the idea of love, it's all about helping. But having that chat is super critical to help the business, the team, and the person to grow. Otherwise, if you're avoiding it, it is fear.
And you're amazing at the coaching around what is the strategic plan, how are we going to get the culture and the mindset, and actually, from a recruitment perspective, attract and retain the right people to deliver the culture.
Yeah.
But having those tricky conversations to therefore improve. But is it actually then, so if people have the play to win mindset, that the team have the play to win mindset, then the values are what determines the respectful conversations and the speaking up in the appropriate way. Is that what's the checker and the balancer in between in business?
Yeah,
values.
I think I'm understanding. Yeah, I mean, just going back to the structure of this book, the mindset does shape the culture. So whatever mindset the leaders bringing in, and it could be a love-based one and a play-to-win one, or the opposite. Energy is catchy. So if the leader's bringing in fear, that's what the culture's going to revolve around. If the leader's bringing in love and a play to win, that's what the culture's going to revolve around. What I would say is feelings are a massive part to this idea. So love and fear, play to win versus play not to lose. And the way you manage your feelings is a significant determinant on which side of the line a culture sits on, or which side of the line a leader sits on. So it really comes down to when you want to feel good. Do you want to feel good now or feel good later? So play to win often does require something uncomfortable or some sort of risk, whether it be a difficult conversation or a risk for the business. It does require some sort of some action often that's not comfortable. So that's not going to feel good until later. Yes. Play not to lose is the exact opposite, and there's usually some form of safety or comfort zone and we all do this. It's a human thing that we stick to, but we all know if you keep doing that and avoid the difficult chats, it doesn't end well.
Nice.
So feeling good now, feeling good later I just wanted to throw that in, and the way we manage our feelings around that, huge determinant of this. A good quote, I think it's in the book, I should know that. I think it's in the book. Nick Saban, a US college football coach, has got a really good quote along these lines. You're going to suffer through one of two things in life, the pain of sacrifice or the pain of disappointment. And there's something really profound about that.
Yeah. And you talk about, we have to challenge the status quo. And what I learned in one of the sessions at Vegas, I think it was from Cameron Serrado, was we have to disrupt in positive ways or we're going to be disrupted. It's that tension point as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Around ideas and innovation and being forward thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cameron Serraldo was gracious enough to give us some time in Vegas. He was our keynote, and for those that are following the story, the Cameron Serraldo and the Bulldogs story. I mean, they're having a little bit of a tough run of it, but he, I mean, if there's ever an example of a player to win, coach, and someone that's willing to disrupt himself, he replaced two key positions last season on a winning team, a team that was leading the table, because he had the courage and conviction, and believed that there was a different team that was required to win the comp. So imagine that. Imagine having the courage to replace key roles in a team that's winning and near the top of the table. Great example of disrupting yourself. But that's a really good. I took that out of his talk as well. If you don't disrupt yourself, you will be disrupted. And classic signal of playing to win. Someone that's willing to, a business that's willing to challenge themselves before the world does it to them.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, not to have a huge economic conversation, but a lot of the conversations that I'm having, people are saying, what are you finding in the market? And at the moment, I'm really pleased to say that our clients are still hiring. They are maybe not, if someone resigns, they look to replace, they're absolutely not recruiting like for like, but they're looking at the capability of the team, which absolutely includes mindset. So someone might have the right skills, might have the right experience, but they don't have the right people leadership skills to execute the vision. But do you feel that with what's happening in the world, like there is more fear externally?
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as someone says to me, I feel like we're heading into COVID times, I have a visceral response to that, because it's a huge thing to say.
Yeah.
And I think and we can't ignore the signs, but also we are going to cause what we all fear if we do nothing.
Yeah.
So it's got to be brave, hasn't it? What do you think?
I bring it to I take that because I've been in similar conversations, and I take it back to the smallest thing in front of me right now, and I go back to my mindset, because that's the only thing that I can control. Craig Bellamy has got a saying: small things add to big things. In the rugby league context, that means just stick to the process, do the basics, don't do any crazy stuff while you're, sort of building your position in the game, and then, trusting the process so that the opposition starts to break down later in the game, gaps open up, and then you can start to take more risks. And I think you can apply that to anything in life and in business, small things to add to big things. And so when I'm feeling acute fear, whether it be someone talking about the economy, another COVID, there's something about that sort of saying small things add to big things that really resonate with me. And I go back to that, and, what's the one thing that I can do right now, as tiny as it is, to get some sort of win? And when I mean win, conquering a fear, because it just creates something. It creates some sort of energy. It creates some sort of momentum. As opposed to the idea of staring at a scary, uncertain world, that could, go in any direction. So I just find it more helpful to go really micro, and go back to my own mindset.
That's the sport mindset,
yeah,
isn't it? And it teaches you to be consistent. I mean, any business fundamentals are the same, but if you do them consistently, it compounds over time. But also how you make people feel along the way. I mean, for us in recruitment, it's either the only thing that will enable us to be lucky enough to partner with a business will be because we have a relationship, or we have unbelievable networks of people who we could approach for work, or we know how to find really good people. There's nothing else. The business fundamentals are the same, but it's knowing what they are and consistently investing the best in that every day. To echo what the point there, from my point of view, focusing on what you can control, and that starts with mindset. I can't make that point enough, especially when we're living in a scary world. And let's face it, that there is a chance that this can become scary if you allow it.
Yeah, and small things add to big things. Chase the small win, get some energy out of that, get some sort of momentum out of that, and see where that takes you. I just a story that's come to mind. I walked through a park not that long ago, and there was a kid at the top of a skate ramp, and I just got enthralled by this because he was at the top of the skate ramp trying to challenge himself to go down that ramp, and he couldn't. He was trying to will himself. And it took a good 10 minutes. He was up, and the tears were coming. He was so passionate about trying to conquer this fear, and he just couldn't do it. And I was just enthralled by this. I saw this battle playing out in him. One looked weird to the bystanders, but I was completely enthralled in this. And he did it. 10 minutes later, he did it. And he didn't crash. He sort of successfully did it. Grabbed his skateboard, marched back to the top of an even bigger ramp, and did it without a moment's hesitation. And so I think that's I took energy out of that. I took inspiration out of that. So whatever your ramp is, whether it's Donald Trump's rockets, or whether it's your supply chain disruption, or what the fear of having a difficult conversation. Go for the small win, create that energy, create that confidence. One more story to build on that. I restrung a clothesline a few weeks ago. I was procrastinating about for months. My wife was asking me time and time again, and I was procrastinating. I wasn't being a good husband, but one day something clicked and I said, I'm going to restring this thing. And within minutes of restringing it, I picked up the phone to make a long overdue phone call to a very good friend, which was a difficult conversation. And I did that. And within minutes of that, I just felt this elation, and I was so on for the next few days, which was handy because I had a really difficult client engagement within a couple of days of that. And as crazy as that sounds, the clothesline had a part to play with that. So my point to all of that is, no matter what the fear is, big, small, or indifferent, just go back to mindset, go back to what you can control, and try to find a way to get a small win. And that's the basis, and then it sort of leads on from there.
Comfortable intent. That's brilliant. I mean, my story with that would be, I only learned to ski in my 30s, in my 30s.
Yeah.
And if I would stand at the top of the mountain and take a huge look around and look down the hill, I would be absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
Now, I love sport. I can be really technical, but as soon as fear came in, my technique was wrecked.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go back and do it again. But if I have an unbelievable coach, and I know what coach worked for me on the ski slopes, then I would tuck in behind and just focus on every single turn. Turn. I literally wouldn't look beyond that because the fear would separate in. And I think, it is how you're describing in business. If you've got the right coach and the right people, you can just focus on what you need to do and get it done.
Skiing's such a good analogy for this. You've literally got it. You're going down an icy slope with zero control.
Yeah.
And there's it really shows this up. Do you let go and trust the process, or not? So it's a really good sport to test this. You can't ski if you haven't conquered your fear.
No, you can't. Exactly. That's right. And what about then from a team performance, playing to win, open growth, love mindset? How can that be encouraged day to day? So if everyone's bringing it, like, how is it unlocked and maintained, do you think?
I just keep coming back to just focus on your own contribution to that,
nice.
and trust that energy will spread.
Yeah.
Energy spreads either way. If you give love, play to win, that'll spread. If you give fear, play not to lose, that'll spread. And as small as that is, if you're part of a big team, it doesn't matter because that's all you can control. And start with that, and be clear on what your process is to bring that right energy. And everyone's got a different way of doing that. I've got my way. I know you'll have your way. But be clear on what your process is. One of the chapters in the book is Find Your Method in the Madness. Have your method, have your process to consciously choose what energy you're bringing in to a team dynamic, and trust that that's going to have an effect.
Okay.
Trust that that's going to spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you work with teams on creating their strategy or vision to understand what the mindset is. I work with them on identifying, assessing, and attracting the people with the right mindset, and also the skills and capabilities. What does it look like from a perspective of making sort of judgments today that might impact the medium term? So, you know, as soon as we look at the environment, people could look at the next year, but what about looking beyond, calls to make today that might impact the medium term?
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question. So making decisions today based on.
I think when we forecast a business, I don't know how anyone does it beyond a quarter. I mean, there are businesses that must do it for a year. And, you know, there's ASX businesses, I don't work with them, but they must forecast for a year out. I don't know how you would do that. You know, I can create a vision for 6 months. Right. I have never done one for a year because I go, so what I'm asking you as a coach and leadership, I have got an open mindset, but how can I be more medium and long term rather than just live my life and getting the most out of the day, seeing the next 6 months, and I can't see beyond that.
The first thing that I would say, this is now in the strategic sort of layer to all of this. The first thing that I would say is I don't believe that there's a right or wrong as far as setting a time frame against strategy. Not everyone might agree with that, but that's my view. And if you're setting a time frame, it's got to be something that you meaningfully connect to. So if you're trying to whiteboard a vision or a strategy that's beyond what you can feel, I mean, I've been part of some processes. I have to sort of go with the client's agenda. Where they wanted a 100-year sort of vision. I personally don't get that, but they did, and they sort of energetically connected to it. So I don't know that there's a right or wrong, but you've got to meaningfully and energetically connect to the time frame. So if your time frame is a bit shorter, I wouldn't sort of judge that. I just sort of go with that. But if you did want to challenge yourself on that, one of the things that is an increasingly popular strategic planning tool is scenario modeling. So Shell, the oil company, made that famous in the 70s, and just defining a few different scenarios based on economic factors, based on competition, based on technology, whatever the most impactful variables are, painting a few different scenarios and then working out how you would respond based on those scenarios. So while we've got a couple more minutes, maybe this is deviating slightly, but can I just ask you to share about the thing, your non-negotiables in business, your thing that you're known for, but then the agile improvement, innovation piece, like. The thing, as in chapter 8, the thing that sets you apart. The thing is just, it's in simple terms, it's what sets you apart. So every business has a thing that they're uniquely wired towards. It's their special sauce. It's something that helps them stand them apart, and that could be your product or your actual service. It might be, you know, you're in a lane that the product is hard to differentiate against, so it's more the way you deliver it. It could be the way you attract and retain staff. It doesn't matter what it is, but having clarity around what it is that sets you apart, really key to a play to win strategy, because that means you can take leadership in the market around that thing. By definition, that's playing to win because you're taking a leadership position in the market as opposed to being lost in the noise and just being a generic provider. That's a classic play.
For me, otherwise, I was like, how do you know what the target is? Like, play to win is you're driving towards something with the right people. But for me, that was like, I loved that chapter because I was like, you can't just show up, have the right mindset, get the most out of it. But so say it's a 6-month strategy, but the thing and the
what sets you apart
is so crucial to every single conversation, I think. And every decision making. And
you guys are FutureYou. I genuinely feel like you guys are really clear on it and really good at that, because it's not just a recruitment company. There's genuine connections that you build your relationships off. What's your purpose statement
The
again?
power to connect, to make meaningful introductions to enable personal and business growth.
Yeah, and these things are an example of that, and I've seen how you implement that in other ways. So that you guys are, I think, are a really good case study, knowing what your thing is and wrapping your strategy and activities around
The
that.
thing could be called purpose as well.
Yeah,
Or
whatever it is,
product,
that sets you apart.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
So, this is another quote from you, but high performance doesn't just happen by chance for anyone, for any person. It is built, and it happens intentionally. Any sort of words of advice or encouragement, if someone in the moment, your last words in the book are, do you choose love or do you choose fear?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get it tattooed. I choose love myself. But if any advice on it?
Yeah, just get clear on your how to.
Yes.
To choose love and to choose play to win. Yeah, the method in the madness, as I quoted earlier, it's one of the chapters in the book. Find your method in the madness. I'll share mine if that's helpful. So, firstly, people that know me know that I bang on about this a lot. So, reflection is so important. Just reflecting, noticing yourself, watching yourself deviate between play to win, play not to lose, between love and fear. Because you're going to do it. We all do it. We're humans. We're not robots. We're not a spreadsheet. It's going to happen. But watching yourself and building a really good self-awareness around what your patterns and triggers are, that's the first building block, and super, super important to develop a strong self-awareness. So when it happens, when the fear grabs you, you're already ahead of it because you know what the trigger was and you know what to do. So self-awareness, built out a reflection, step one, and then step two, have your process. And I'm going to share mine. I think I'm going to share mine. Yeah, a bit of vulnerability, but I'm going to share mine. So I am a personality type that does a lot in business and in life, and it's always too much compared to what I can do. I tried to change that. I gave up. I'm just going with it. I've accepted who I am. It took me a while to do that, but it is what it is. So there's always more than I can do. And that's usually something that I can be okay with. But there are moments, if I'm being very open and honest, there are moments that I get acute angst and I get an acute sense of scarcity. There's not enough time. I've got this much to do, and it really grabs me. And that has an impact. I get brain fog. I lose clarity in terms of thinking, problem-solving ability. It really has an impact. And that's awesome when that happens, because it's not awesome when it happens, but I love knowing when it happens because I've got my process and I can get ahead of it. And so there's a few things that I do. The first thing that I do is breathe. We talked about breathing before the podcast, Em. So deep breathing, it has a physiological reaction. It helps. I'm not that deep into the science to explain in eloquent terms why, but it helps. Second thing that I do is I write the word integrity down. So integrity, it's a deep value that I was brought up on by my parents. It means a few things. One of the things it means is doing things properly. My reactive tendency when I feel acute overwhelm is rushing, to try to rush things through the to-do list. So writing down that value of integrity sort of keeps me more accountable to making sure that I'm doing justice to whatever I'm working on rather than just sort of rushing through. Third thing that I do is I anchor back previous memories of when I've been able to thrive. Thrive might sound a bit, but when I've been able to do well under extreme time pressure. There's something about deliberately replaying that through my memory that helps. And the fourth thing that I do is gratitude journal. So I just write a few things that I'm grateful for. That's my method. That took a long time and a long period of test and learn and experimentation. That won't work for everyone, but you've got to find your method. You've got to reflect. You've got to understand your patterns and triggers. Build a really deep sense of self-awareness, and then have your process ready to go. A couple of just while we're talking, a couple of things that have come to mind. First one, acknowledgement. Just genuine acceptance of whatever the fear in front of you is can be game changing. John Jones For the mixed martial artist fans out there, he's known as the GOAT, the greatest ever. A reporter was interviewing him once around how he manages his mindset before a fight. He's got a really interesting ritual. He'll sit down before a fight and he'll literally visualize worst case scenario. And for him, that is losing by knockout. And so he works himself into a mental state where he can genuinely accept, I might lose and I might lose by knockout, and somehow find a way to be okay with that as a potential outcome. And the way he tells the story, the second that he does that, and the second he comes to a genuine acceptance, he's won. Like he's conquered the fear because it's lost its hold on him. So there's something about Elon Musk. I know if he divides opinion, but he's got a really good quote. The only way to beat fear is to look at it directly in the eye. And I'm a big believer in that. There's something powerful that happens from just genuine acknowledgement and acceptance of whatever the fear thing is that you're fearing. And the other thing that's just come to me, presence. So there's a million books written about this. I talk about it in my own book, tons of research that the benefit of being able to dial into the present moment more, it helps. It helps as far as managing fears. Roger Federer's in the book. He delivered an awesome speech a few years ago. He rattled off some stats in that speech. I've put the actual speech there's a QR code in the book which will take you to the speech. I recommend people watch it. It's an awesome speech. He rattled off some stats about his tennis career. He played over 1,500 tennis matches, I believe. He won over 80% of those matches. But when you count the points, he only won 50-something% of the point. He barely won half the points, which is incredible to think about, given that he's one of the best tennis players ever. And he's got a quote in the speech that says every single point was the most important point of his life. And then when it was over, it was behind him. And then the next point was the most important point in his life. And a lot of these elite athletes and coaches say similar things. Jurgen Klopp, who's my hero, ex-soccer coach, he's retired now, used to say the most important match in our lives is the next one because it's the only one we play. So there's something about, it's a very common personality trait for elite athletes and coaches. There's three spaces you can go from a mindset, past, present, or future, and they all have a role. But yeah, it's a clear. Sorry, what did I say?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Past, present, future.
Yeah.
And they all have a role, but it's really clear to me that a common personality trait of the elite athletes and coaches in the sporting world find their way of dialing into the present more often. There's something about that helps you step outside the feeling in the moment, which is fear, usually, and helps you make a more intentional choice around how to respond.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And take action, I think, because otherwise...
Small wins.
To the beginning, it can't be a theory. And half the time, if you're feeling that way, take action and it passes through, doesn't it? Rather than just sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, anything, just any small win, restring a clothesline, any small win, just to get it going. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Absolutely brilliant.
Absolute pleasure. Always fun to hang out with you, Em. Thank you for having me along.
It's brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll share the link to your book with everyone and also a full recording of the podcast.
Thank you.
So yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Em.
Thank you.